Hello and welcome to Provision ISR's webinar. Today we are going to talk about Ossia CMS. Ossia CMS is the software we are going to use to manage our devices, to access live view, access playback, load an EMAP, manage our TV wall, and to do a lot of things. Of course, that we are going to dedicate the time for each feature. I want to add that we have two different versions, the Ossia CMS Standard and the Ossia CMS Enterprise. The main difference between them is the architecture, and I am going to explain. Ossia CMS Standard is a standalone version that we install on our computer, and then we add the devices to that software. For example, if we have 10 different devices, so we're going to add them into the software, and then if we want to add the same devices into another software, to another computer for our employees, for example, then we're going to install the software once again, and then we are going to add the devices once again. Of course, we can use the import and export feature to help us do that a little bit, but we're going to have to do that over and over again for each employee's computer. The limit for channels on the standard version is 256 channels or 256 cameras. The standard version also supports live view, playback, EMAP, TV wall management, face recognition, which will allow us to recognize people by their face. The attendance management, parking lot management, which will help us to determine what car will or will not enter our parking lot, or face greeting, which will pop up a message when a certain face is being detected, or the face attendance and the people counting, those are not exist on the standalone version. The standard, I mean, of course. Now, the enterprise version is most fitted to big companies that want a lot of devices, a lot of video channels, and they have a lot of employees to implement those the devices into them. So, for example, if we have a manager that wants to have all of his 100 employees access to his devices, then working with the standard version will be a waste of time. First, because it doesn't have the capacity for more than 256 channels, and second of all, because it is very frustrating to install the software and to add those devices into all of those softwares. So the best option in this case will be to use the enterprise version, which is client-server based. So basically, there is the management server that contains all of the information, all of the data, whether it is the devices, the cameras, the DVR, everything. And whenever we want to add those devices to our employee, it can be one employee or 1,000 employees, then all we have to do is to install the software and to connect it to the management server, which will synchronize all of the information automatically into the client itself. By the way, this is the client. It looks very similar to the standalone version, just that it has a couple of features that the standalone doesn't have. And of course, I already mentioned them, but I will mention it again once we reach each one of the features. So, getting access to the management server is, we can get access with three different platforms. First, this one, the client, the computer client. Second of all, the web browser. We can open the Internet Explorer and get access immediately to that server. So into all of the recordings, all of the devices, whether if we have 100 or 1,000 of them. And through our phone, we have an application dedicated for the enterprise version, which will get access also to the management server. So all of that information in a press of a button. Enterprise version also supports a couple of features that doesn't exist on the standalone version, which is the first of all, it is the attendance management. If you want to control our employees, who comes, when he comes, and when he left, to be able to see that information, then we can do that with the enterprise version. Parking lot management, I already mentioned it, to get or deny access to our parking lot. Face recognition, by the way, exists on both. Face greeting only on the enterprise version. Face attendance, which relates to the attendance management, is only on the enterprise. And the people counting, the ability to count people, and by that get information on how many are, or how many entered, how many left, and how many are right now in our facility, in our building. Of course, the operation and maintenance, which is all the maintenance of the software, and the local configuration, which relates only to the local part of the software. Those will be exist on both of the versions. So I think we covered the base of the difference between the two versions, and we can start. So let's start with the live view feature. This window contains all of the things that we already know. Most of us, we have the split screen options 100, we have some widescreen layouts as well, and we can customize our own layout. Of course, it can contain up to 100 different windows, which can be played with however we want, and then afterwards we can save it and use it. Okay, for the next example, let me pick some random cameras. 1, 2, 3, and not fisheye. Okay. Full screen. Full screen will basically show us a full screen window of all of our cameras, and we have the on-screen display button, audio broadcast, which will sound our voice over the speakers that are connected to the cameras, if we have any speakers connected, or to the NVR itself by the HDMI, of course. Manual alarm, same thing, we can operate our alarms that are connected to the NVR itself or to the cameras, and we can activate an entire area. An entire area can contain many different devices, NVRs, DVRs, cameras, and we can activate all of them in the press of a button. So theoretically we can activate an entire continent. If we have a lot of devices scattered around us on that continent, then we can activate them all in the press of a button. So the most common example will be a jail, that we want to activate all of the sirens in that jail, so a prison. So in the press of a button you can just activate them all out, and of course to close those relays as well. Next thing will be the show analytics. So we have analytics on that and that camera, and once we press it we can see a visual line that represents the analytics that we have set on our cameras. Close all the windows. It will close all of the videos, and to save the view. If you want to save the view in order to access it later, then we just press save view, and it will appear right here in the view section. And the live view, as you can see, this is the live view 1, which we are on right now, and we have a small star next to it. It just means that it hasn't been saved yet. So if we will save it, the star will disappear, and it just means that now we have it saved. So for the example, let's open another live view. Now the live view 2 does have a star next to it. Let's save it also. Now we can move on between live view 2 and live view 1. We can jump between them. Live view 2 has nothing, and live view 1 has the 4 cameras that we already saved. So let's go quickly over the mini menus that we have. For example, let's take this camera. This is the button that will close the channel. This is how to local record. Enable audio, which means that if we have a microphone connected to the camera, then we will hear whatever going on next to the camera in our computer, basically. Take a snapshot and to operate a PTZ. So let's for the example, let's open up a PTZ really quick. Okay, that's a PTZ, and let's operate it. So you just press the button, and then you can play with it and move it directly or to the up or left and right and everything. Of course, we can create some presets and make the camera to cruise. Okay. Next is the digital zoom. We can go around, and we can use our mouse also to zoom in and zoom out. And of course we have the fit to window, which will do nothing right now because the camera is already fitted to the window. And we can device talkback. We can talk into that device specifically. If we press this button, this is exactly the opposite than the audio broadcast, which will broadcast our sound to all of the devices at once. And this will take us to another setting, which is the image adjustment, but we will reach it when that feature time comes. So let's forget about it for the moment, and let's talk a bit about the video point. So we have discussed about the area. Basically, area area represents a physical area. You want to associate some cameras, some devices into it. So let's say that we have 4 different stores in our country, in the United States, and we have one store in Oregon. So we will name one area Oregon, and under that area we can associate all of our devices. Devices can contain IP cameras, DVRs, NVRs, decoders, TV walls, etc., etc. And we will have another store in the state of Washington, so we will create another area, we'll name it Washington. Of course, this is just my example, everyone can use it as they like. It's a matter of convenience. Channel group will allow us to save a couple of devices, or devices, like we said, IP cameras, DVR, and NVR, into one group. Now I created this group as an example, and we can do a couple of things with this group. First of all, we can let's close all the videos like we saw before. We can first of all drag the entire group and see the videos that exist out of that group, and we can also point to one of the windows like I do right here with the mouse. We have here some open window, and we can press the sequence button, which will basically run our cameras one by one on one screen, as we can see right here. So it is a very useful feature. So let's close the cameras. I haven't mentioned it, but we have the self-adaptive stream, and we can determine what stream we are going to get from the cameras. So if the cameras are locally, we will choose usually the main stream to see the best image possible. But if we are remotely, or we operate a lot of cameras at once, we can operate up to 100 for a window, as we said before. Then we will use the substream, or even the third stream. As you can see, the quality has reduced a little bit. So moving on to the next feature. Next is the alarm view. In the alarm view, we will see the videos that pop up after an event has happened. An event such as motion detection, line crossing, area entry, area exit, and basically anything that we have previously set. Now right now nothing is set, so we don't see any videos. So just for the example, let me show you how it actually works. You don't have to remember what I'm doing right now, because we're gonna get to it shortly. So first of all, I have created previously some motion detection events, and let's see what happens here in the alarm view. By the way, we can drag this screen out of the software and take it into any of our screens that is connected to our computer. So let's see if I have forgot something. Alarm view, well, no, didn't. There was just no movement. So right now when there is a movement, you see that a little bit of wind has moved those leaves outside, so we have movement, and also that camera outside had a movement. It's a pretty quiet day, so not a lot of movement, but this is the idea. Now of course that one more thing, of course, that from here we can also control our windows. We can zoom in, we can zoom out, we can activate full screen and do the same. Of course, the window will change according to the last movement that has happened. Of course, we can access all of the other things that we have previously accessed through the live view. So next is Init Monitoring. Right here we can see a city, Ramat Gan, and we have 2 streets. So how to create a map and how to associate cameras into that map, we're gonna go to shortly, when that feature time comes. But this is where we monitor the events. So as you can see, we have 2 cameras around this street, and we can see that they are jumping. So if they are jumping, it means that they tell us that there is a movement right now in that camera. Whenever a camera jumps, the video will automatically appear here to the right. And I don't know if you noticed, but I will also get an automatic zoom on the map to that specific area, to that camera. and I will get this red mark that tells me that on that map I had a movement. Now if I want to stop, see immediately those automatic videos that pop up here to the right, all I have to do is to press no, auto alarm views. So that will cancel the automatic view for the cameras, but not the automatic zoom on the map. So let's cancel out those cameras. Now if I want to control what events I'm gonna get, right now it's on a motion detect, but basically I have marked all of the events possible. So if we don't want all of the events, so that will be very common, then we can just select what events we do want to get notified by. If it's a channel motion or channel missing item or whatever other event that we have previously set. So we're just gonna fit it to our needs. Of course we can get events for IP cameras, for artificial intelligence IP cameras, which means all of the analytics, the DDA that we are going to go through, and also we have a lot of webinars in this subject. And according to sensors, we can, if we have sensors, we can also scatter them around the map and get events regarding to those sensors. I don't know if I mentioned it, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to mention it very shortly. But we can upload a map of our own, a map that represents a blueprint of our office or our university campus or our mall or something. It doesn't have to be Google Maps, but that is a very, very good option. So, next is the playback and backup. This is where we can playback our records on our computer and we can back them up. Now we can back up records also locally here on our computer or locally on the device itself. So if our client having troubles on backing up his own records, or maybe he doesn't have a screen to do that or something, then we can do that for him. All he have to do is to connect the disconnect key into his device, into his NVR or DVR, and we can do that for him right from here. So let's start from the playback. Let's see what do we have here. First of all, we can see that we have the video points. It looks exactly like the live view with the area in all of the devices under it. We want to make sure that this button is from network device, which means that we will take our recordings from the network device and not from the storage server, which usually, which mainly exists in the enterprise version. But also in either way, we would like to get the recordings from the NVR, which is the network device. So how do we do that exactly? All we have to do is to choose a day on the schedule, of course, as we can see here, and select the camera. Just drag it. Once we drag the camera, we can see the video's playback immediately. From this point on, you know, the options are unlimited. We can also scroll back and forth on our bar. We can see that that camera has a lot of more recordings, that camera less, and we can zoom in and we can zoom out, of course. And if we want to back up a certain point, then we can go into that camera that we want to back up. Let's say this camera, the big DDA. So for example, let's put it on full screen and let's press on the scissors. So first of all, we're gonna get to something interesting that has happened here. For example, right here. Okay, let's say it's forklift. So we press one press on the scissors and another press on the ending of the point that we want. So we saw that we started it on 5 o'clock, and let's finish it at 5:15. Another press on the scissors. We see that our area has been marked. We have a segment, and all we have to do is to press backup, start backup. That's it. Right now the file is being downloaded to our computer, and we have another file that we have already saved. We can see the name here. It is ended in AVI, which means that this file will be able to play in any playing software, Media Player or VLC or whatever we want. Now we're gonna get to that screen in a short bit. Let's for the rest, let's continue with the playback screen. So let's see what else do we have here. 1 second. Let me close the windows. Now, not only that we can play videos from the playback, from the devices itself, themselves, we can also playback a channel group, an entire group. So as you remember, we can create a group that can contain different devices from all over the world. We can have 15 different devices in that group, and all we have to do is to drag that group, and we will immediately see the point that we have pointed on the schedule. So for the example, let's take Sunday and drag it once again. We can see that we have much more recordings from or for all of the cameras. We can select the camera and go back, and we can go forth and wherever we want. Of course, that we can also back it up from here, not a problem. So next thing is, let's close the door. Next, we're gonna see the shortest way to find a specific event that has happened. If something has entered or left the scene, then we want to find that event very quickly. So it is called by time slice, and all we have to do is to select, of course, to take the recording from the device itself and the period of time from March till April. I want to see everything from March till April. And now all we have to do is to select the camera. So we selected back DDA, which is the camera that takes our parking lot. Now as you can see, we get snapshot for each day. 12 of the month, 13 of March, 14 of March. Now once we know what day we are searching for, everything starts to become super easy. So for example, I took the 19th of the month, and let's see, we get a lot of snapshot if each snapshot represent a different hour of the day. Now we can see that at around 9 o'clock I had 2 cars here, but at 8 o'clock they were not here, none of those cars. So I know that they have came here between 8 and 9, so I'll double click on that, and we will immediately be able to see at what point those car has arrived. We can see that they have arrived here. First of all, the black car has arrived at 8:25, between 8:25 and 8:30. A double click on that will allow us to see. A double click on between 8:20 to 8:25, the black car has came. So let's see that video, and immediately we can go back and forth. We can skip forward. We can see that that car has came here at around 8:20. It's gonna come here any minute now. There it is. Very simple and a quick way to find an event. Of course, we can do the same thing for the white car as well. So we can see that the white car was here at 8:30, but wasn't 8:25. So exactly the same thing, the same idea. Let's skip it forward. It hasn't been here yet, and there it is, 8:28. Now basically from here we can see by event, by tag, backup and search picture, which are exactly what's going on here after by time slice, by event, by tag, backup, search picture and recordings. So let's just move to by event and see what happens here. So in the event we can see all of the events that has happened. So just like live preview, we select 1, 2 or all of our devices. We select from when until when, let's say from the 1st of April until today, and we're gonna take the recording from the network device as mentioned before, and we press search. Now when we have all of the events, we can see a lot of motion, a lot of different events, and we can filter them out right down here. If we uncheck box motion detection, then we won't have all of the motion. We will have smart events or scheduled ones. Of course, we can bring it back on whenever we want. Now, for example, let's see what information we get from this screen. We see the name of the camera. We can see the start time, the end time. Between here and here, we can see that we have 32 seconds. If you want to play back, then we press the play button, and we can see that the movement has happened with that car that has passed, and we can also back it up into our computer. So we can see the process here. It has been downloaded in AVI format, so we can play it back in Media Player or VLC or how we want. Let's clear out the list. And okay, now a very important thing that we can do from here is that we have the ability to backup on device. So if our client, for any reason, having troubles on backing up his files on his local NVR or DVR, then we can do it for him. Maybe he don't have a screen, maybe he doesn't know how to do that, then he need to connect the disconnect key into his device, and we can do the job for him. So help him remotely. So let's start and see what actually we can do here in the backup screen. So backup. Whenever we backup a certain file, a certain playback, it will take us immediately to that page. But from that page we can also initiate our own backups. So how do we do that? First of all, we gotta know what we want to backup in advance, because we already saw the recording. So let's say we want to record 4 or 5 or all of the cameras simultaneously from that period of time. So all we have to do is to check those cameras, to check the required date on our schedule. So let's go for Sunday, 5th of the month, and press search. Now immediately we will be able to see all of the records, all of the events represented by color, and the legend of the color is of course down there below. Motion detection is yellow, smart event, which can be line crossing or sterile area or face detection, recognition, all of that will be in turquoise. If you had a sensor, it would be in the color of red. And the schedule, which is 24/7, this is how we set it, but it can be set otherwise, of course, is on blue. If you want to filter out the results, because for example we don't want the 24/7, then we can take out the schedule, search, and we will get filtered out results. So how do we backup? Since we chosen all of those cameras, then we might want all of those cameras to be backed up. So it doesn't matter where we are going to choose with our mouse like this. It will take all of the cameras. Of course, if we want less cameras, then we need to choose in the first place less cameras. So after we do that, all we have to do is to press backup. And I see that one of the cameras doesn't have records. Okay, fine by me. And I can see here the list of all of those backups being backed up straight away into my computer. So before my computer runs out of space, I will end it and let you know that we can also back up on device like we did before. So if our client doesn't know how to do that for himself and we want to help him remotely, then we can back up the records on his NVR. All we have to do is to press backup on device, and we will get the same video, the same window. It will take some time because I've chosen a lot of cameras. Yeah. Okay. Let's end it. Okay, the next thing we're going to go to is the search picture. In the search picture, we can see immediate snapshots from each channel that we choose according to the parameters that we choose. So let's go ahead and press search. We'll immediately be able to see all of the motion events that took place, and we can select those required photos and download them into wherever we want. Next is the record setting. The record setting only applies to Ossia CMS Enterprise, not the standard version, because here we set the recording on the storage server, meaning that there is a server that his role is to keep all of the storage. So this is where we set if it's going to record mainstream or substream or maybe third stream. We can set it individually for each camera if we have more important or less important cameras. Of course, that we can select all of them and create mainstream, and we can choose what will be the schedule. Will it be at 24/7, 5 days a week? Maybe we want to create another schedule of our own, so we can create it right here, and then to just give it a name of some kind, and let's call it 1. Now we have here schedule number 1, then we can select it. So only what we have chosen will be recorded. Next thing we're gonna go to is IMAP settings. Here we can edit and create our maps. We saw before that I have the city and we have the streets inside, but let's see how to create a map. So yes, we'll press create a map. Then the parent map will be none because we want to create a parent map. And then we have to just select a place. Let's go for Shenzhen. So map name is Shenzhen, and the parent map doesn't exist as we said, and we press OK. That's it. We created a new parent map which is called Shenzhen, and inside Shenzhen we can go inside. Of course, let's press create a map, and in here we can also get inside and take a simpler name. Let's say Tian. Okay, Tian. So the map's name is Tian. Maybe that will be better. Tian, and the parent map is Shenzhen. Let's press OK. Now let's add some cameras to our city. So we're gonna go to video point, and it's very simple actually. We just drag those cameras to their physical location. So once we drag them, we can edit them. We can edit the text color of the camera itself. We can make it red. We can edit the markers color if we want it to be blue or green or whatever we want, like this. And we can see now that the writing is red, which is very helpful because we don't want the writing to be black like the names of the near streets, which might confuse us. Now I think yes, we can edit also the name if we want. And on the top of that we can also add some sensors. So each camera can, if the camera has a relay out, then it can be considered as a sensor, and we connect to that camera a proximity sensor or a smoke sensor, any kind of sensor, and then we can scatter them around according to their physical locations. And of course that whenever we have a marker implanted on the map, then it's the color will be blue to tell us that it has already been chosen, because they cannot be on two different places at once. So if we will go into another map, for example Shenzhen, and we will try to get a sensor, then we will see that they are already taken, which is very logical. So after we've created them, we don't even have to press anything to save it. It will be immediately in the IMAP monitoring where we were before. So we can see that we have Shenzhen, we have none cameras there, but in Tian we have 2 cameras like we've said before. Now we don't have to only get the map from Google. Of course, we can also create our own. So exactly the same way. And this time, instead of Google Map, we will choose Picture Map. So I've previously created a very simple, let's call it, very simple blueprint of our office. Yes, I need to give it a name, so office. Okay. Now we have a map. 3 persons in this office, and then we can do exactly the same. We can scatter it around cameras according to their locations, just like this, and then we can also edit them. So this is nice as a small office, as an example, but it can be an entire facility, an entire mall, or a factory of some kind. The options are unlimited. Exactly the same options. Yes. So the IMAP is a great way to control where our devices are located according to their real location on the map.
Next, we're going to talk about the TV wall management. Now we're going to talk about it and not really set it up because it demands hardware. Basically what it means is that we take 2, 4, 8 a symmetrical number of screens, and then we can combine them into one big screen, and the CMS can basically operate what we're going to see on each of the screens. So for example, if we take four 25-inch screens and combine them together to form one big 100-inch screen. So then the CMS can basically we can do whatever we want with that screen. We can take one video and spread it all over this big screen, or we can take 4 different videos, or 16 or 32, whatever we want. Basically it acts as a hardware for big facilities or operating rooms, for highways or factories, any place that needs a lot of cameras to be shown constantly on a very big screen. What I am going to show is how to set up and install a decoder. Now the decoder will be set up through here also, through the same section, TV World Management. As you can see, I have decoder bind configuration. Of course we're going to touch it immediately. But first, a few words about the decoder. It has 4 HDMI outputs. Number 1 and HDMI 1 and 3 are 4K, 2 and 4 1080p. For each one of those HDMI we can connect, of course, a screen, and we can show up to 36 different videos. So 36 times 4, we get 144, I think, different videos on those 4 screens. So why we would use it? That solution is perfect for those who want to show constantly videos playing without using a computer, because a computer won't last for long under this kind of pressure. It takes a lot of resources to show that amount of videos for a long period of time. And second of all, it's cost effective. If you will use a computer that can support this amount of videos, then it's just not worth it, because that computer will be very costly, a lot more than a decoder. So let's start by showing how to install a decoder. Now for start, we're going to go into the resource management, which we are going to talk about deeply when that feature time comes. But for now, let's go to the decoder, as we can see here below the encoding device, and add the decoder. Now where is the decoder? The decoder is basically a DVR-like machine, a bit bigger maybe, which it's physical. It's a physical hardware that sits on the LAN, and of course the CMS can detect it automatically. Then all we have to do is to mark it and press OK. Of course that password is should be the right password here. Unless we do that, then we won't be able to add it. Now once we add it, we can see we have a gray line right here. So if we want to have that decoder connected, we're gonna go into the TV Wall Management, to the TV Wall System Settings, and we have here the decoder bind configuration where we were before. And we are going to, of course we can see that the line has jumped into here, it wasn't here before. We're gonna press edit and select the right TV wall for that decoder. Now we don't have a TV wall, so let's create one. TV wall settings, we press plus, we're gonna create, my name is David's TV wall, and press OK. Now we created a TV wall, we're gonna touch it a bit in a second. Let's go into here and edit. Select the TV wall, David's TV wall, OK. Now we give it a second. There it is. Now the line is not gray anymore, not here and not in resource management where we just added. So now let's quickly go over the information that we have here. We can see the device name, it is a decoder, it can be changed through the decoder itself. By the way, it is accessible through web. I was already inside. We can see the port, the default port is 4x8. We can see the IP address, and we can see how many outputs that decoder has. 4 outputs. We can also see them through right here where we created the TV wall name, and below we can see the decoder output, meaning where from we are going to output our videos. So we can see the decoder here, and we can see his 4 outputs, and of course we can name them with different names. For example, if you want to know where each screen sits, because the decoder, we might have screens that are 20 meters, 40 meters away from the decoder itself, and each one sits in a different room. So room number 1, we know that it is the manager's room, For example, okay, you got an idea. For example, now we are going to use our TV wall to determine what videos we are going to see on the decoder. So first of all, we have to bind. Let's not forget that these are two different entities. So we have the TV wall and we have the decoder. We gotta bind them together. So how many outputs do we have from the decoder? We have 4. But how many actual? I will tell you, just 1, because we have connected right here physically. I have connected only one HDMI into one screen. So in this case it is output number 3. So only one cable between output 3 into a screen. So I want only one screen, which is output 3. So how do we do that? First we're gonna choose the TV wall, double click it, and we can see that it is already bind, and that kind of ruins my surprise, but we're gonna get something like this, and then we press initialize. In initialize we're going to choose how many screens are to be shown. So if I had 4 of these HDMI cables into that decoder, I would have chose a split of 4, and then I could bind each one separately. But in this case I only have 1, so let's make life easier and choose a split to 1. Then all we have to do is to bind output number 3 into that single channel and press save. So after we have binded output number 3 of the decoder into the TV wall, we can control what will be shown through the decoder. So let's go ahead and see how that actually works. We go into TV wall view. In TV wall view we have all of the devices on our software. So in this case we have only one NVR. We can also see that the groups also exist here, and we can get access into also the decoder input. Decoder input, basically the decoder has 4 outputs as we mentioned, and it also have one input. So we can connect to it another NVR, DVR, a television, or another decoder if you want to change decoders from one to another. So how do we do that? First of all, we are here on the TV wall. Then we decide what is going to be the split that we are going to see through the decoder. So for example, split to 4. Now all we have to do is to drag the needed cameras. They drag all of the area at once. And how it takes place, exactly like this. I have opened the camera to let you see exactly what happens on my screen. That screen is connected to HDMI number 3 on the decoder. So I have made a split to 4. Let's make a split to 16, and we can see that the split takes place immediately. It happened through Wi-Fi, so give it a second. Now let's drag all of the cameras inside to see how the screens slowly but surely pop-ups, and even a split to 36 with all of the channels over and over again. Let's see it. Okay, so of course I've added the same NVR more than twice to fill up the entire screen to let you see how it works. It can also be devices from all over the world. It doesn't have to be from the same local, of course, the local network. Now let's see the different options that we have. We can add different TV wall plans. So basically we can save those 36 different channels that we have chosen. We can save them, and this is our current plan. You see it is saved it automatically. We can create another plan and another plan, and then we can edit them. So plan number 2, we are going to make it a split to 9, just like this. Let's give it some cameras and save it. And plan number 3, wait a second, save it, yes, okay. Plan number 3, we're going to split it to 4 and add the channel group. Don't know if I have mentioned it, but also the groups that we have created. In this case I have 1, I could have 50. Those groups are being saved into, also can be deployed into the layout that we want. So we press save, just like this. Now let's see how that takes effect. So first of all, we have that split to 4. Let me maybe drag it to the other side so we can get access to it. Okay. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, so we have the ability to change views immediately. This is the first plan that we have created. 36 different videos. Plan number 2 and plan number 3. So, couple of more things that we can do from here is first of all, if you want to see the entire camera on the split screen and not not 4 cameras but 1, then we can just put it into full screen mode like here, and we can of course reset it whenever we want and get our 4 back. A couple of more things. We can, first of all, we can see the video playing. If we are not near the screen, then we can just double click the camera, the required camera, and immediately get the video playing from that camera. Now, if we have a PTZ, we can control it. Now, for the example, let me take a PTZ right here. Now, whenever we want to control a PTZ, we just have to go into PTZ control. Let's even put it in a full screen mode, just like here. Now, let's see how it works. So, no, wrong direction. This is the camera. Now it is set to automatically follow, so but now I am controlling it up and down and down and up, and the camera is mirrored. I don't know if you noticed, so my left will be actually a right and the right will be actually a left. So pretty nice. Now of course we can, if we are not near the screen, then we can just double click the camera and immediately get the video playing on our computer as well. So let's see a couple of more options that we can do. So first of all, let's go back into our main plan. So we've seen how to move a PTZ, how to access full screen, how to exit it back into the split to 4, but we've done all that in preview mode. What happens with playback? Now all we have to do is to go to playback mode like I did here and select the date. Let's select yesterday, for example. And then we can select where are we gonna get our recordings from. Is it from a storage server? Really quick about the storage server. Storage server has two benefits. One of them is that it can contain a lot of more capacity. It can keep a lot of more data. Secondly, it can replicate its data between 2 or more other storage servers, so our data will be protected if something happened to one of the servers. So we can decide if we take it from a storage server. Of course, we're going to talk about it when that feature time comes, or from a network device, which is the local NVR. So we're going to choose for this the NVR itself. Now all we have to do is to drag the required camera into its window, and immediately we are going to get our recordings. So let me check that box so we can see a lot more recordings. Okay, so we see a lot of colors. We see blue, we see green, we see yellow. The blue, we have a legend here that tells us what each color means. So the blue is a schedule. It means that a certain recording has happened regardless to something that actually happened on the scene. So for example, if I press the window and show you the video playing, we can see that nothing happened here, just plain recording. But if I will go into, I can see here a tiny bit of color at 4:55. Then let's go here and see what happened right there. So let's give it a few. Okay, we can see a person. So basically the analytic means that some object has been detected. We have a lot of seminars about it. It's called DDA cameras, detect, distinguish, and alert. They can distinguish between human being to a vehicle to a two-wheel vehicle. So we saw a person at 4:55. We see a lot of more analytics going on at about 6 a.m. Let's see what happened there. Wait for it. Okay, there is the video. Now, of course, before the event is actually happens, we have some pre-record and we see a truck moving in. So this is basically the analytic. It allow us to see certain objects, whether it is a person or a car, and to show it on the decoder itself. Now, of course, that if our bandwidth is a bit low, then we can select to have a mainstream or a substream. If our bandwidth is a bit low, so we can choose substream and see lower quality but higher fluency of a video. And then we can go back into the preview window if we want to make the recording disappear and act as a preview window. We can use the recent channel and immediately we will go back into the live view. You see how the car suddenly appeared? Okay. So one of the last things I want to show you is the ability that we have to make a sequence of cameras that will skip one after another in the on the decoder. So how do we do that? We have an auto switch group button right here with a small plus. This is where we are going to put, first of all, the right order of where or how we want the cameras to jump one after another. If this screen is split to 4 like we have here, then the split screen for the sequence for the auto switch group, this is the same thing, will be divided to 4. But if we have, for example, 16 channel and we will press the same button, we will get a 16 split. So let's stay in the meantime in the 4, the split to 4, and let's choose some cameras. So we're gonna go into video point and choose our cameras right here, same cameras that we have on the Ossia CMS itself. If we had more, then we could choose more. All we have to do is to pick them on the right order, and of course that after that we can play with them, take this one down, take this one up, depends on what is the order that we want them to play. Now if I'll try to put only 4 cameras on a split to 4 screen, then I won't be able to do that. I gotta have at least one more camera. So let's add another one for the example. No, I guess I chose the same one twice. Okay. Now I have 6 cameras, we'll press OK, and we have a sequence ready to use right here. How do we use it? Let's see, first of all, this is the split screen that we have, the regular one. Now I'll just press the play button on the split screen. That will clear the related configuration. Please confirm, OK. Now have a look at what is changing. So we have the starting 4 that we've chosen. Let's give it a second. By the way, it has a 10-second gap between one sequence to another. How do we schedule that? Right here, dwell interval, 10 seconds, 20, up to 2 minutes, and of course that we can give it a name of its own. So this is good if we want to show a specific sequence of cameras from different areas, for example, on one screen that will jump one after another. Now in that case I've chosen 4 cameras, but I could do the same for 36 cameras, and the options are basically unlimited. So we remember that we have planned all of the plans that will show on the decoder, on the output of the decoder, what we want to see, whether it is a split 4-4 or 4-9 as I just did. Now what happens if I want to schedule those plans? I want on Sunday to have this plan and on Friday to have this plan. So very simple, we're gonna go into task settings and schedule a task. So we're gonna choose the proper plan that we want. We're gonna give it a name. Let's keep it, let's call it task 1. Okay, and run plan task. When do we want it? We want it at 2 o'clock and 20 minutes because we are nearly there, and every day that will choose all of the days for us. And basically this is it. Let's just make sure that we don't have anything running right now. Right now we can see that we have all of the videos already, so let's clear the TV wall, which will automatically clear it, and let's wait. So it's not gonna take long, I'm gonna speed up the time. Okay, there are approximately 10 seconds left. Let's take a look at our camera and take a look here where my mouse is at 219, 220, and the videos pop up. So this is a great way if we want to have a schedule on each and every one of our plans. So the last thing will be, after we have been to the task settings and we see, by the way, we can also edit the plan and delete it if we want. Last thing is the TV wall system settings. Now I will start with the decoder bind configuration because we have started with it also before. This is where we see the actual decoder, and this is where we associate that decoder into our TV wall. So we see the selected TV wall is that one, and we can change it all the time if we had another TV wall, of course. Now the other section is the channel number settings. Now what are channel numbers? In many cases we would like to have quick access or to show on our decoder quickly those the relevant channel. Now it can be either a specific channel or an entire group. Remember, we can form a group for example, 36 different cameras, and in a press of a button, in a press of a number, we can get access to that group. We can make it appear immediately on our decoder, on the screen. So, where do we put those numbers? We will put those numbers on a keypad. There is a keypad, a physical keypad, it's a hardware basically, that will connect into the network. And once we press the right number, the number that is set right here, and by the way we can change any number that we want, we can give it, of course you can see that we have a conflict here, but here we don't. A lot of numbers, a lot of quick access to different cameras or groups, and to immediately show them on the decoder. This is a short list, but that could be a list of hundreds, of course, and once we finish we can always export the channel number. But there is an unsuccessful saved keyboards number. Please save it and export it. I have to save before. That's it. Now, after we export, we can of course import it back to the Ossia CMS to not forget all of that information. So, long story short, channel number settings refers to the keyboard, which will allow us quick access to the cameras that we want. So that was part number 1 of Ossia CMS. I was David. I hope you enjoyed Provision ISR's webinar. I hope to see you in the next webinar, and of course in part number 2, which is coming up next.